Can you hear me all right?
Yeah, no, I'm fucking like stuck in like leaving game hell here, so I figured it'd be a good chance to just knock it out, I guess.
I honestly, I saw that. I was writing this script, and that's why I thought of it. I was just like, you know what? Just random thought. We could just chill and talk about this instead of having to deal with the server issues.
Yeah, no, that's good with me. I'm down.
Okay, cool. So, so yeah, I'm just kind of prepping a video that was kind of like, what are they going to talk about this year? Since Nikita said they were going to do that devcast in a week or two,
Hmm.
as like a heads up. Plus, I do a lot of lurking. I go around to a bunch of different streams, just seeing like what people are talking about, what people might not understand, especially if they're people that don't usually play a lot of Tarkov, like the bigger names and stuff like that during the drops and stuff.
Yeah, for
And a
sure.
lot of this stuff, they just have no idea. A lot of people just think the game is done. Like it's just so I know that I talk about this, probably every other month, but I'm just gonna go on the list and just everything that they plan on doing this year, as well as just like in general.
Hmm.
And yeah, I figured you just want to chill, talk about it, kind of stuff, and see what you
Yeah,
think and give some input on it, kind of
yeah.
stuff.
No, I'm down. I mean, I had like a rant earlier. I don't know if you were watching. Somebody were like, what's the game gonna be like? When it's finished, and basically described what it'll be like, 1.0, and it'll be a prologue mission. First thing, you get spit out right in the streets. You won't have a stash or a hideout or anything like that, and how like the linear progression through the world is going to be much different based on the personal storylines, and traders having physical locations, and essentially like where we're at right now with Tarkov and how the wipes have been for the past like 5 years is like mid game. Like that's the mid game. Like we have the hideout, we have traders, we can order stuff from them like without delay, and that's like mid game. But the early game for Tarkov is going to be so much different. It's not going to be golden pocket watch mission anymore, because you won't have that quest line until you have gone to customs, or you won't even have met Peacekeeper until you've progressed far enough to actually physically to go to Shoreline and go to his like encampment. And that's why he has all those Shoreline quests for you, because like that's when you go to Shoreline. And a lot of people don't understand that like a lot of the quest patterns and the way that they're broken up right now is not because like that's just how they have the quest, because that's how it's going to be literally tied to the linear progression of your journey escaping through the game, going from
Yeah,
like map to map.
yeah, that's probably one of the biggest things, for sure. It does with the map to map. I think what they're probably going to do, at least this is what I have written down here so far, is I think we're going to see it with streets. And
Yes,
but
I agree.
like as in like, of course we're gonna have the to labs and back and forths with factory and streets, but as like a this is the feature, like this is we're gonna have streets and map to map travel as a
Hmm.
thing. Um, Personally, I think the next wipe that we're gonna see is that first iteration of streets. I think that's gonna be like
Agreed.
the big call, probably
Agreed.
like Q3, probably like August, something like that this
Yeah,
year.
I was gonna say probably Q3, like end of Q3,
Yeah,
uh, this
that's
year, because like
uh,
this wipe is like the way the economy is set up. It's gonna be a wipe that lasts for a while.
oh,
Like
for
it's gonna
sure.
it's gonna be like this for a hot minute.
Plus, they'll want to mess with the economy with the trader. Because not the last time that Nikita talked about it, they said that they were working on the animations for the traders and the trader and the bosses
Hmm.
for the island, which I don't know if they were having trouble with it. Like, I don't know what extent. I mean, we don't know what extent they're going to use those guys, and like how active they're going to be. Like, is the trader going to walk around like he's a scab boss, or is he going to have some
Right.
place that he sits there like in Stalker? Like, we don't actually know. Also, the extent of like how it's going to work. Like, I'm from what I've heard so far, they said that there's going to be a unique thing that you need to do in order to access him. So I don't think it's going to be as easy as you have a key card and then you swipe it at the gate and then they let you
Yeah,
through.
no, it's
I
you're probably I bet you it's gonna be tied to like scab reputation, or something like that. I mean, I heard a rumor that like, so how like we'll have to go like streets lap streets. Well,
Yep.
we'll also be able to go to factory, but apparently if you want to have the factory access, you have to have like max scab karma in order to
Oh,
get the
okay.
factory pass. So it could be something related to that.
So I
Or
didn't
I
just to
don't
real
know.
quick because when I heard him talk about that, at least when like a full discussion last time Nikita talked about that, I
Hmm.
didn't hear that. It's supposed to just be access. It's supposed to just be that you can either go
Okay,
to factory and then go to labs because they want to try and cut people down on camping the exits. So
definitely.
you have to be able to not just have the one exit, and also you have to think like, oh shit, did that person, if you were following, like if you're stalking somebody through labs and they get away from you, you're not gonna know that that person went to streets. Depend Well,
Yeah.
if you go to if you know exactly what extract they go to, then you'll know whether they went to factory or
Right.
streets. But if you lose them, then you won't know that. Okay, he's definitely gone. Let's just go to streets and see if we find him. Like it can still be that extra. We don't know where they went kind of stuff.
Yeah, no, I got you.
Yeah, which that's the last time that he talked about it. If that anything that's involving like reputation and building up, I'm on board with. But last time we talked about it, it didn't sound like that was the plan. Um, but it does open up, like obviously we're seeing with the lighthouse to shoreline, just no wall there, but with factory to customs too, because it's literally just a wall between factory and customs. Like I feel like they would just take that wall out, and then same thing with woods to factory. And then if we're going that far, it's like how much farther are we going to go with reserve to shoreline, and then that's pretty much everything as is. Or sorry, reserve to customs as well, because
Right.
anyone that doesn't notice that, if you just go up to the train, you can see the train crash on customs from reserve. That shit. So like, I feel like that's going to be a big thing that pops up, and I wanted to see what you thought about that. Nice AR, by the way.
Thanks. Somebody in chat was asking about it. I think it's gonna be pretty cool. I think it's gonna control a lot of the pacing. And I think it's just gonna be that's only gonna be a really big hit to like the labs mains who just like get a key card, jump in, jump out, reset, and just labs over and over and over again. And players are gonna have to, I guess, have like a new thought process in terms of how they get to and from those maps. And it's also gonna make like bringing in extra food and water and encouraging more kind of like preparation. And the way that also people move through the raids will be a bit different because you have the players who are there for the raid and they want to loot that raid, or the players who are just there to try and pass through and get to the next location. And it also makes me wonder if passing into a new location will take into account like run throughs, because I don't imagine it would, because you're just going to another raid. So I don't think it would matter if you got a certain amount of experience in a raid and having to go transition over to the other one, because technically you're not going to go back to your stash. So
that was the exact thing I was actually going to talk about next. Sorry to cut you. I didn't know where you were going to go with that, but like that was because how are we going to actually get to the hideout? I haven't heard them talk about that at all. We just see.
So I've theorized it's those underground doors. There's doors everywhere around the map that all go underground, right? Because the hideout is connected to a metro system under the ground. Nikita talked about in like prior podcasts.
Did not know about that.
It's
to a metro system.
Yeah, it's connected to like an underground metro system, and there's a very elaborate underground tunnel system and bunker system throughout EFT that Terror Group used. AKA like all the sewers and all those bunker doors on woods as well, like all the ZB bunkers and shit. Like where do you think that extract takes you? The ZB bunkers on customs and stuff like that everybody knows. Like even D2 extract, where do you think that goes? And so a lot of those underground locations are where you'll get to your stash. And for what it was described to me was when the open world is eventually unlocked, that's how you get back to your stash. Is you have to go do a specific extract that are littered all over the map, and you go to one of these like underground like areas that take you back to your stash basically.
Yeah, and he has talked about I remember because I know that I made a thumbnail for it with a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle but with a scab face. He said the sewers, like there's going to be there's going to be a bunch of manhole exits just kind of like scattered, and then you can go in through that way.
Because different extracts will take us to different locations. For example, like once we finally get far enough in the personal story missions to find out where reserve is, because reserve is technically kind of like a secure base and it's not easy to get into. Once we finally get there and we want to go out, Red Rebel will take us to Shoreline. Scablands will take us back to Customs. I believe D2 will take you back to their stash. Hermetic takes you to Factory. And then the train takes you to Lighthouse. And that's how you unlock Lighthouses. So once you finally get to Lighthouse, then you're going to have to go through all the way through Lighthouse, all the way to Shoreline. And then that's when we get Shoreline finally. And it's going to be pretty wild.
Did you see there's getting so you remember the other day, this was like back at the beginning of the patch. I think it was one of the first times that we ran one of our like rogue sweeping kind of team things. When we ran at that white car because you guys had the task.
Yeah.
There's PMCs that try to do that now and they die. Also,
really?
Yes. Also, I did it, I don't know, 2 weeks ago or whatever. I did it pretty soon after we had done that run as a scav, and the scavs died as well. So minimum, if you were a scav, they shoot you at different distances. And if you're a PMC, there's actually clips of PMCs that go to that white car. They barely get past the truck and they're getting shot.
No shit.
So that's why it's a bit confusing. I'm wondering if they're messing with it, or if for that task specifically, maybe they meant for you to get shot. Like that's why it was a bit confusing. But
Maybe I don't know. I mean, because like I remember when we first did it, like you got all the way up there and you're good, and nothing bad happened, but other people getting clapped. It's pretty interesting.
and then there were other raids where I know I went past that. That's why we were so confused about it. It was like I know I've passed that truck before and I've gotten shot at. So it's weird. Maybe you just need someone in your group to have that task in order for it to work, which I haven't even gotten that task yet myself. Once we find somebody, we're gonna end up testing that. But absolutely, if you are scav, you die if you get near that truck. Like if you pass that truck. So that's
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then so my theory, I think we talked about this the other day too. My theory.
Actually, also I just had an idea too. You're probably gonna need a specific armband in order to not get shot.
Well, that's what I was getting into. Yeah. So I was wondering. I mean, that's a good point too. Something visually speaking to know they're not going to shoot at you too.
Mm-hmm.
Good point there. Good point there. My prevailing theory with this, because I was following closely, obviously I've been following a lot of the podcast closely, but they were talking about underbarrel grenade launchers for a while there, specifically because the GL40 for, in case anyone listening doesn't know, the GL40 is literally made for the SCAR. Yeah, so they were talking about adding the SCAR, and then I asked, are we going to get the GL40 as an underbarrel because it's for the SCAR? And they said yes, and they were talking about underbarrels coming back. Right. And then once they started talking about splitting Lighthouse up and not having the trader, that's when they stopped talking about underbarrels. So my theory is that the trader is going to have those underbarrels and maybe some explosives or some of the fancy
I could totally see that. I mean, I could definitely see him having some spicy gear like that. Maybe the impact grenades would be a good thing to have there too. Even like good armor, ammo, stuff like that. Maybe you can find. And it also makes me wonder too if that stuff is still going to be counted as a found in raid item as well.
Yeah, it's weird,
which is pretty interesting because technically it's a trader that's in the raid, but then again, eventually every trader will be in raid. They'll have like their own little location, and like animations for voice lines and dialogue and stuff, kind of like Stalker. Like when you go to a location and the trader's like there in the map and you go talk to them. But it's like obviously a safe zone that's potentially controlled by a specific faction. And so depending on your karma with any specific group will kind of dictate what trader you can and kind of can get to without getting fucked up.
Yeah, that was one of the things too, since they moved suburbs in town, since they moved suburbs in town to DLC, I'm wondering if they're gonna change up how that works. I think it's Prapper and maybe Mechanic. I think it's maybe two of the traders are housed on town and suburbs. So there's like, I'm wondering.
Well, so there's the Tarkov Trade District. Therapist is in streets. She's in streets.
Yeah.
Mechanic is in factory. Peacekeeper is shoreline or somewhere around shoreline. I think it might be that that facility across the train bridge.
Yeah, I'm looking it up on the wiki. It's on the wiki.
I think that's where it is. Prapper is suburbs, right?
Urban settlement. Yeah, I think that's suburbs.
Yeah. Ragman is in the Tarkov Trade District, which I think may actually become like a new location. Because again, when they do open world, there's gonna be like dead zones in the sense like they're not maps, but they're just the areas that connect the maps, and they very well could be in those zones. Because True. Like even though that we don't have any new maps coming, it doesn't mean they're not going to expand the current ones and make them larger, such as like woods, shoreline, even lighthouse, reserve. Even Nikita mentioned that the minefield and the mines will eventually have physical mines, and you'll actually be able to sweep them, and they will become extracts one day. So it won't just be an RNG based mine where if you're just here you get blown up. You will actually be able to work your way through that minefield and survive and extract through that side of the map.
I did not know that.
That's he mentioned that a little while ago. Because we will have the ability to like disarm the mines and traps as well once they introduce that. And I think physical mines will likely come in whenever they decide to add like actual physical traps and claymores and like toe poppers and shit like that. So that should be pretty neat.
I again, like, because a lot of the stuff you're saying I do have info on, so I don't know when to like speak up and stuff, like, so my bad. But it's like the last he did talk about that. Last he talked about that was streets as well, because our car dealership boy is gonna have claymores. He's gonna have claymores set up around the area, so that was another thing. Also, they wanted us to be able to ambush the BTR with explosives.
Yeah, no, and absolutely be able to set up anti-tank mines for it. Shoulder-fired rocket launchers, shit like that.
The one thing I haven't seen, but it makes complete sense, is for people to have laws. I
Yeah, no,
assume
I
they're gonna
agree.
add. I assume they're gonna add the law because they talked about. They even talked about the I think it's the Schmel, which is it's like the really portable one use launcher that is sort of
Hmm.
like a law, but it's fucking thermobaric. Because
Yeah.
Nikita confirmed thermobarics too, which is nutty. I don't know if you've seen. Have you
Oh
seen
yeah, no,
thermobaric? Like
they melt through fucking armor like crazy.
no, thermobarics. Those are super heavy, like high explosive. They will knock buildings down.
Oh no shit.
Yeah, they will demolish buildings. They actually kill crews.
Oh wait, he said
Yeah.
those are the rounds that will kill people on the other side of the wall and
Yes.
shit.
They
Yeah,
will
those are
kill
nutty.
vehicle crews through the armor because of the concussive force. Like they're absolutely
Damn,
insane.
that's
And
nutty.
Nikita confirmed those are coming.
That's
So it's
brutal.
yeah. So it's like what the you guys are like everyone's worried about impact grenades. Like you have no idea. Like how
Yeah.
is this gonna work?
It makes me
It's,
wonder too with the whole airdrop thing, you know, how they can spawn a vehicle into the map. It makes me wonder if like these vehicle convoys will start coming in on other maps. Like imagine like Scab Boss rolling in like on a fucking convoy and like stopping somewhere in the map and offloading themselves, or even raiders in like black SUVs and shit.
or Black Division.
Yeah, that too.
One of
Black Division as well.
one of the prevailing kind of theories is like, what if they somehow keep a timer involved, even in the open world, but it's just like a random event? Because they did, as brass tacks, they did say that there's going to be random artillery shells and stuff like that
Yeah,
that are
the
going to
red
be a thing.
zones.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that's going to be involved with if they do end up adding the Black Division. If it's what if that timer is not necessarily something that's just hey, this is just time to leave, because obviously that's a in development thing. It's just like
Right.
that's just the server side thing. They need people to move on so they can get new
Yeah.
people in and stuff like that. But if they kept it, what if it's because Black Division's coming to get your ass?
Yeah, and
Like
you better get the fuck out of here.
exactly. Yeah, like that's what it is. And it's not necessarily the timer ends, it's the timer actually starts to go negative, and that's how long you've survived since the Black Division started hunting you. Like shit
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
because I mean, they even mentioned that there's going to be different factions that will hunt either Bear or USEC too. And when the
GRU,
personal
yeah.
story, yeah, when the personal story missions come in too, that's when the differences between the factions will be actually like will actually matter besides clothing and voice lines, because it will affect like trader influence as well as the different factions that will like hunt either Bear or USEC down. And we
Yeah,
kind of got a small taste of that with the rogues.
for sure. And the GRU again, I can't remind, or I can't just tell people enough, because anytime anyone was talking about uh it's like it's impossible to play Lighthouse as a
Wait
bear.
for
It's
streets,
impossible.
bitch.
Yeah, it's just the GRU. Just yeah, everyone's gonna run bear when streets is out because everyone's gonna want to play streets. The GRU are rogues, but they hunt USEC and they move. They will literally hunt, like they'll move around, they patrol around and they'll go out. So that's nutty.
Mhm. Well, because
And,
Bear, to my knowledge, and the Gru, they control a lot of that area,
oh, for sure.
and they're like the dominating force. They even go around and kill scabs, like, which I think is pretty badass. Like,
Yeah, that was the one thing I was curious if that was, well, for one with the Russian regulars and then also the UN. Because that was one of the big things is the UN's been talked about for now. It's been over a year and a half since we first heard
yeah, the
about
blue
the UN.
fire.
Yeah, the UN, where that's supposed to be our easier access to like NATO gear and stuff like that. And then they're gonna have their patrols around as well.
Hmm.
And I think the reason why we haven't seen it yet is because they're gonna have a big role with PMC Karma.
They are,
And
yeah,
they're
and
delaying the PMC Karma.
I've apparently they're reworking it. But last I heard, Nikita, you might have heard me talk about this, but Nikita mentioned that Karma will be associated with a raid factor system. What raid factors are is a raid to raid basis that is a blanket that affects every PMC in the raid, no matter what PMC or faction you are. And so, for example, like a raid factor would be you can't kill scabs. If you kill scabs, you'll lose
Right.
reputation with skier, but gain some for prapper. So it kind of allows people to choose, basically a side. And that could be the same thing for rogues. It could be the same thing for Gru. It could be the same thing for Bear. It could be the same thing for USEX. It could be the same thing for rogue USEX. Stuff like that, or even scab bosses if it wanted to get specific, or it could just be PMCs as a whole. And it would kind of start putting people in situations where they have like a ROE for that specific raid that will dictate their karma, which will therefore dictate the interactions of other factions to them, as well as the trader's reputation with them. So we could very well get to the point where like you have like the prapper mains, or you have the peacekeeper mains, or you have like the skier mains. You know what I mean? And the gear
Yeah.
and equipment they have is like what you kind of have to stick with, and everything else you have to either get off the flea market or find.
Yeah. Also, they talked about. I knew that they talked about something similar like that along with the global events, but I forgot that they. So he called it a raid factor system.
Yeah, raid factors.
Okay.
That's what it was.
I remember him talking about that, but I didn't know he called it that specifically.
Mm.
All right, cool. Um, where was I with that other one? I was just gonna mention something. Shit. What was it? All right, I blanked on it. I guess we could just move on with uh Hideout expansions. I know that he's talked about it, but I forget whether or not he said it's DLC.
Oh, so hideout expansions are basically submodules in the hideout. This is actually something I was talking about today. So apparently, and again, this may or may not change, or may not even be a thing anymore. But apparently, like, you know how we can just go to the trader and buy something right away, and eventually it might not be like that. When traders have physical locations, we might actually have to go there to buy our shit and then take it to our stash. However, there's supposed to be submodules per each module in the hideout. So like the Intel Center will have multiple submodules, the Workbench will have multiple submodules. Same thing with the Scab Box. And once we get level 2 on the Intel Center, we get our computer, and then that submodule will be upgraded. And so once you get the computer, it'll allow you to order and buy goods from the flea market as well as the traders and get them delivered to your stash. However, it will not be an instant thing. And then your Scab Box will have second modules, which will affect the speed of the delivery from the traders, which will actually control the pace of like gear and equipment quite a bit, which I find interesting. And I don't think the timer would be anything really insane. But like, you know, like it depends on how gamey they want to make it and how many submodules they add to each facility inside of the hideout. Because there's supposed to be like submodules for guns and ammo and tech gear and stuff like that, all on like the Workbench, as well as like upgrades to the shooting range that would potentially increase our like skill gain for certain guns and weapons and stuff, which is also kind of cool. And different submodules for like the resting area and the heating and all that kind of crap. I don't think every single facility will have a submodule, but I think a lot of them will. Like mainly, like I said, security, Scav Box, Intel Center for sure, Workbench, and maybe like toilet. I think for whatever
shooting
reason.
range shooting range is probably one of them. Whatever they would do for strength. I know that he said that there's going to be stuff that for passive strength and endurance leveling.
Yeah, which I think is good. I mean, shit, the whole skill system is still super borked in my opinion.
There's a full sweep coming at some point. They talked about this in like 2019 for a full sweep,
Yeah,
which they've done a bunch of stuff with like weight and stuff like that too. But there's still a lot of stuff that like you went on a rant the other day about the fact that vests and backpacks don't weigh, or a bunch of shit just don't weigh anything when it's max, and that doesn't make
it's a broken ass perk. Like the same thing with the movement speed and the jump height, in my opinion. Like the only thing that I think should affect player speed is how much you weigh and the equipment that you have on, because that also evens the playing field a lot towards like level 50 plus players versus like level 10 players or even 20 players, because like the difference of having 20% extra movement speed even with inertia, and on top of that having the max perk where all of your gear doesn't weigh anything, is pretty fucking busted. You know, it's just more about evening. It's not so much like preventing like casual players from getting to that point. It's more so like nerfing the fucking sweat lords who play this game more than everybody and just kind of evening that playing field a bit.
I think stuff like that is when is what we would test stuff like that when the game is actually in a beta, when it's actually feature complete, and then we're just testing the bits and pieces and stuff like that.
For sure.
I'm sure there's going to be several more iterations of the economy and all that stuff happening.
Yeah, definitely.
Also reminded me of the question I forgot before, which was Nikita did a Russian cast. I don't know if you caught that video where I was lucky enough to get. So I didn't even know that this happened, but he talked to the Tarkov girls, which I guess they're Russian speaking Tarkov streamers, and they have like this podcast. And he's actually done an interview with them before, but I didn't catch this one during the drops. And he actually answered a bunch of shit, with one of them being they are going to make the flea market barter only. That's confirmed. And they are going to keep, yeah, and they are going to keep auctions. Nikita confirmed that in that podcast.
So in my mind then, so auctions will be where the money is, and people will probably place bids on things.
Yes. So
that'll be fun. I love that in World of Warcraft, bro. You come by to the auction house, and like, oh, this fucker put like one more silver than me, and like you up your bid. Like I love that shit.
Exactly.
That's
so he
cool.
confirmed that, and it was translated, so it was, you know, secondhand stuff. So next time I get the chance, I'm gonna get it in English from him. But in that translated podcast, he said that flea market's going to be barter only, and then they are going to keep, because he was talking about removing not doing the auctions, but they decided they're going to have flea market be barter. auctions be money. And
I like
I mean,
that.
on top of all the extra handling of RMT and stuff like that, that'd be because
Yeah, no,
it's probably
it
going
would
to slow down
really it would
significantly.
nerf it would nerf a lot of that shit to the ground for sure. And because I mean a lot of people don't realize too, like a lot of cheaters don't cheat just to cheat and progress in Tarkov. They cheat for RMT because they're getting paid. They can literally cheat at the game and get money for it. And I don't think a lot of people understand that, because most of the time you ever get killed by a cheater and you get your gear back and insurance, they don't care about your gear. They want the found and raid items so they can fucking put that shit on the flea market and sell it and use whatever like rubles or whatever to, support RMT. And that would be a huge neuter to RMT, which I will think would definitely help with the cheater issue on top of that.
Yeah, that was one of the things he brought up. Another thing, he did talk a little bit about streets, but he mainly pushed it off, saying that they were going to talk about it in the devcast. But with streets, the current theory is the teases that we've seen are the first iteration that we'll see. Like the environment is pretty much there, but they're just working on like all the AI that are going to be on there and the loot spawning and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
for sure. It's a lot of work.
But I
Optimization.
actually went in and I took a bunch of screenshots and stuff, and I built up the map in Unreal Engine, and I could I could see, like, I coordinated it all, like, I was talking to Veritas and Jesse Kazam about this the other day.
Right.
I literally found correlating the buildings, like a specific like tall building, or if it has a funky roof or whatever, and based it off of the teasers and the other screenshots, and I
No
literally
shit.
know, yeah, I literally know exactly what that whole area looks like, including another street that goes diagonally across on the other side.
That's fucking dedication, dude. Holy shit.
Well, I wanted to see how big it was. Generally, like, give or take, because I haven't walked it, like we haven't played it ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like what is it? Interchange squared for the area that we saw, and the three teases that we've seen. Basically, if you picture like two it would be like interchange squared, but where the main road where scav camp is, basically just picture that road extending, like continuing, and then everything to your right, as you like, if you did at the train crash on interchange, the train crash on that road that scav camp is on, and then you just follow that road where the mall is on your right. Picture looking that way, but just seeing all buildings, and then double it. So picture like interchange double, and you just keep following that road, and that's basically what we're looking at. But it's all buildings, and it's the construction area, and it's also whatever the last one that they called, but I'm blanking on the name of it, Concordia or whatever it was, all those buildings and stuff, and that's basically what we're looking at. And that's
crazy.
Like, yeah, I even DM'd a couple people at BSG, and they just gave me a smiley face. I'm like, is this, how close am I? How close is, and they just gave me a smiley face. So yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what we're looking at.
That's crazy. That's I mean, Nikita did say it's the biggest, most ambitious map that they've ever made, and
it's the first iteration. Like, that's not even all of it.
First iteration too, which is nuts. And like I said, like a lot of the current maps that we have are all going to be overhauled. Like the train is going to be on customs. The train is also going to be on interchange. The train itself is actually a huge lore item in Tarkov, because that's how we will typically discover all of the new maps is by taking the train to them. And it's not necessarily just walking to them. Because even in the personal storylines, to my understanding, that's how we'll get new extracts, is by progressing in the personal storylines to find out those new paths and routes to and from different raids, allowing us to more freely travel the game. Kind of like how Stalker Anomaly has this setting under Sandbox called either open or closed zone. And in Stalker, if you start with open zone, you have all of the paths to and from every fucking zone point in the game. However, in the game, you have to either buy the pathways, or basically the pathways from to and from different maps, or find PDAs that give you the access to them, or you find in-game maps. When read, they show you where all the paths are, which is really cool. And I could totally see them doing a similar system to that.
Yeah. Moving quickly here, because I want to let you go with
you're good.
Other stuff you got going on.
No, chat's enjoying this, man. It's all good.
Okay, cool. Other thing was belt feds. So when they initially talked about
Streets.
belt feds, well, no, I know, but here's the other thing too. They talked about wanting overheating, because now what we're going into is the surprises, because the airdrops are supposed to be streets too. Airdrops was supposed to be streets, and then I think there's something else I might be missing somewhere that they plugged somewhere that they ended up surprising us with feature wise. Well, there's a bunch of stuff. They've just been surprising us a lot lately too.
Yeah, no, I love that shit though, because it's like they update it and they're like, we have installed a hotfix. I'm like, okay.
Exactly.
And then
For
people
sure.
like seeing Pestly's reaction to the airdrop. He's like, what the fuck is that sound? And he looks up and he's like, holy fuck. Like, and he's like, he was actually surprised because like he didn't even know about that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And like that's really cool. And I love the fact, and that's what BSG also loves, is they love it when we discover things. They love seeing that reaction from the community because it's super genuine.
And there's actually, they might have teased it a while back because Deadly Slob was on a raid on customs where he was just hanging out and he was talking to chat. Because I think it was either a scav raid or something. Either way, he wasn't moving, he wasn't doing anything, he was just talking. And then you could see him grab his headset and he's like, what is that? And there's a clip somewhere on Reddit because it was a big deal. They put it up on Reddit the next day or whatever. And like, what is that noise? And then you could hear it. I swear to God, it's the fucking plane noise. The plane that he heard, it wasn't as loud. It didn't go over his head, but everyone immediately thought, oh, that's an airdrop. Like, that sounds like a plane going overhead, but obviously the plane didn't go overhead and it wasn't that loud. Like, it didn't go directly overhead.
It's just kind of like a preview, like, get ready, bitches.
I bet, yeah, I wonder if they like were fucking with us because if someone's going to be able to find the Reddit clip, like it's out there, and I swear it's the same noise, and you don't usually hear it for like random custom raids and stuff.
Yeah, no, definitely.
But anyway, going back to that stuff, when they initially talked about belt feds, it was both the RPD and the SAW. We've only ever saw the RPD, but the
PKP
only thing,
and PKM are also planned.
Well, I know they're planned, but it's not like we saw work in progress stuff. And also, I think what they're gonna do.
I've seen work in progress stuff for the PKP. They showed it off ages ago, bro. It's just like a part of the PKP. I think it might have been like either receiver or like a handguard or something like that.
Oh damn.
Yeah, because so the scab boss, one of the 4 scab bosses on streets, he has the Viper ammo backpack and the PKP.
Scorpion.
Yeah, is it? No, is it called this? I thought it was called the Viper, or is it the Scorpion bag? It's the backpack that feeds into the machine gun. When
I looked it up, because I've done a video talking about it, because when they showed it in the raid, because there's a guy in the raid that's using it, and when I went and looked it up, it said Scorpion. So maybe there's a new one. Maybe there's a new
Scorpion bag or whatever the hell it's called. But one of the scab bosses on streets is supposed to have that with the PKP or PKM.
Yep.
And it basically, it's just like 1,000. If I'm just explaining for the guys in the chat, it's basically a magazine that is a backpack. It's like 1,000, 2,000 fucking rounds on your back, and it feeds directly into the machine gun. It's like the dude from Metal Gear Solid, MGS2. Actually,
if it's like real life, and if it's the 54R, I think it's only 80 rounds. Well, only.
But no way, it's only fucking 80 rounds. That backpack holds.
The thing that I looked up said 80.
Hold on.
Because it's gonna be too heavy if you take too much.
That's how big the box magazine is on the gun. The box magazines are 100 rounds.
Oh, well, then maybe I fucked up because that's a good point. Something I looked up, it said...
Here's the image right here. Russia is eyeing a minigun ammo backpack out of the Predator task and purpose. Here, I'll send you this link. This is the picture that Nikita showed me actually a long time ago too. This right here. And it's a literal fucking backpack that feeds into the fucking gun.
I must be missing a 0. I must be missing a 0 then.
Oh yeah, cool. So if it's 800, then that would make sense. Yeah, it's supposed to be a big old fucking. I'll post it for chat too here. That thing.
Welcome to trying to remember 4 years worth of information without having.
Yeah, bro. There's so much just random like little jazz in there. But yeah, that's it. And yeah, that's a Russian guy right there with the PKM. Or PKM or PKP, I can't really tell. They're both kind of the same thing. PKM is just pure PKP just has a heavier barrel. And yeah, it feeds directly into the fucking gun.
Yeah, those things are fucking nuts. And there's a guy in the raid series that's another thing that's nuts about the raid series is because Nikita was directing it. There's literally everything in that has a purpose. Like it means like something. It means like once we started talking about karma. And then once the second those guys actually work together, I was just like, okay, this is what this is going to be. Everything actually means something like that.
Yeah,
they want it to be in the game. They want it to be a thing. Like,
what sucks is BSG, they are incredibly good storytellers. They just haven't had, like, the game isn't ready for the story to be told yet. And like, that's what I'm really geeking out about is the lore. And even Nikita's like very hush-hush about the lore because I've asked him questions in the past. And he's like, no, I don't want to spoil it for you. I'm like, fuck, like, spoil me. But they're really, really good storytellers. But once the personal story missions are finally in, it's like when we're really going to get all that good information and all the lore and what terror group's actually doing and what are the rogues doing, what are the Black Division doing, like what are the scabs doing and where the scab bosses come from. Like there's so much cool stuff coming and I'm excited. Same thing with the cultists too. I'm excited for the cultist lore.
Yeah, that's going to be cool. But yeah, going along, pretty much that's pretty much the deal is like, when they initially talked about bet feds, they said that they wanted overheating and then also the working bipods, like weapon resting and working
Yeah.
bipods
Oh
with
my
that,
gosh, that's
which
gonna be so nice.
can't wait for that. And then we have the overheating with it, which was the major feature that they wanted with it. So I'm just kind of leaving it out there as like they've surprised us with random stuff before that they've talked about for a long time. Airdrops being one of them, and there's a couple other things that they dropped on us this patch with them. I'm just saying with the lighthouse expansion, there's a good possibility that we're gonna see
Some
like
cool shit.
GLs and
Yeah.
belt feds stuff like
Yeah,
that.
no, I'm excited, man. Like I've been really jonesing for some more equipment. I mean, they've already confirmed like PDAs, cell phones that work and communicate with other
Yep.
PMCs and drones, like all that cool kind of like tech gear and shit, and like
The camera
radio.
ball.
Yeah, the camera ball. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
And you'll be able to drive that bitch around and like spy on things and um even probably flyable drones too. I don't see why they wouldn't add those. Which would be fucking really cool. Slap a C4 on that and blow some dude up.
Yeah, actually, while devil's advocate too, while we're sitting here, I was in chat and I was talking to you about that the other day, but you misunderstood what I said. From a dev perspective, if they were going to be trying to cut things down on time,
Mm,
that would those little camera balls and those little extra shit like that would be what would be first on
definitely.
the list to
Yeah,
cut
yeah,
off.
you're right. Yeah, you're
That's
right.
what I was trying to say the other day. So we gotta as we're getting, as we keep hearing Nikita say, we gotta finish the game, and stuff like that.
Yeah. Well, I
We
mean,
gotta
they
keep
say
that stuff in
they
mind.
say they want to try and finish it by the end of this year.
So
That's what it's
that's another kind of
in
if
the
I
air
had
thing.
Nikita literally right in front of me, I feel, and it's someone that spoke clear Russian, I bet I'd be able to get this out of him because I guarantee what he means is a feature complete product by the end of this year.
Yeah, not 1.0, but it's like,
Yes.
okay, now like the end of this year we can start like polishing, balancing,
And that doesn't
adding
even
less
necessarily mean
content.
maps either. It's
Yeah.
anything that's going to affect the core code of the game is
Mhm.
finished.
Yeah.
So like
Absolutely.
nothing else is going to mess with stuff. They can really balance stuff and they can really hit stuff hard. And then that's like considered a finished game. And that's why I think we got hit with a little bit of a Nikita-ism when he mentioned that.
No,
But
yeah,
yeah,
for sure.
that's something I had down here. That they're I mean they have to be planning to have this game feature complete if they're gonna be looking to have it done in the next 2 years.
Yeah, I agree. I personally think the game will be done and they'll release it 2023, like Q3, Q4, maybe around the holiday. If this year goes really well and there's no major hiccups.
The major thing is I'm looking forward like to get that is I mean it's exactly what they're looking for too, just which obviously makes sense, but it's streets, it's the custom rigs, and it's the lore, which they might
Yeah.
not end up doing the lore stuff because he has been swapping around a little bit with the lore stuff. If I
Nikita
get to
did tell
talk
me
to
the
him-
the first iteration of Streets won't have map to map travel at the get go.
Oh, he did.
He told me that some time ago. Yeah, he said the first iteration of Streets will not have map to map get go because they need to test the map. They need people just to be able to hop in there and just test it out. And that the personal story missions will likely come shortly after as well because the map to map travel is pretty critical towards the story. So, and if I'm gonna guess, I think Streets will drop unless they change their plans. But I'm gonna guess Streets is gonna drop with a bunch of content, new bosses, stuff like that. It's still gonna be kind of the same Tarkov we have. And then after we've tested the map and the new items and yada yada, there will then be another patch, maybe an expansion to Streets, like the next iteration of Streets, with a wipe, with personal storylines, and the arena, because the arena is part of the story too. So I think they need the arena in the game before even personal story missions, because the arena is directly tied to the story of the PMC and how we escape.
Okay, this is big here. How long ago do you think he said that about the arena? Because if it's past about 8 months,
yeah, about a year
last
ago,
he's-
so
yeah,
a year and a half. So
last
Could've
he
changed.
specifically talked about arena, he called it a post-launch thing because
really,
of what they're doing with it, which
Okay,
it could have
that-
changed, and maybe it was a mistranslation, or maybe it was just an error because these things happen. But
yeah,
last I heard him talk about it, he said that arena, because of what they're going to do with it now, with the separate server infrastructure for it and the
Right.
extras that they're going to do, the whole separate team that's working on it and making it all fancy, he said it's going to be a post-launch thing, which
Okay,
again might
cool.
have changed, but
Well, yeah, I guess because I just remember him telling me about how the arena is tied into the story directly, the PMC, because we have to like go there and like gain reputation and get respected, and then we can like move on to another map after that.
probably still true. Probably still will have stuff added to it, but yeah, that's why. Also, why I
Okay.
wanted to talk. I wanted to coordinate and see what compare like what you heard, and what I
Interesting.
heard and stuff like that.
Yeah, no, that's good.
So we'll see. Again, with this, because they said they needed an extra week or two for this dev cast that they were gonna do. We'll see what ends up happening with that.
Yeah, Nikita's on holiday. We're actually gonna, if you want, me and him are gonna play some Ready or Not and Zomboid and stuff. If you want to join.
Okay, cool. Yeah, let me know with that. I just started a I actually just started a second channel. I'm gonna do everything I'm doing with Tarkov, but for Star Citizen. So
Nice, cool.
I'm super
Hell
busy
yeah.
with that. But I just lurk around, and then whenever you guys are like kind of messing around, I just kind of send some DMs towards people and say, hey, if you
Yeah, bro,
want
that
to play stuff
works.
like that.
Easy, easy day.
But for sure. Um, what was the other thing? There was one thing I wanted to mention. Uh, bu- 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 Honestly, I think that probably. Don't know if you've heard anything about this, but the last I heard about Steam Audio was they had a tool with Uni 19 that they needed in order to fix it. A
It's
big
because it was
thing
too
that
CPU intensive.
Yeah, the big thing that I wanted to mention, that I don't think I put out there enough is that BSG actively their intention is to try and mimic what EarPro does in real life, which we don't really talk about a whole lot because it is supposed to be different. It's not supposed to, like, especially with the shittier ones,
Hmm.
which I know that you talk about this all the time too. I'm trying to figure out a good way to get people to understand what that would sound like. So I've gone to telling
Basically,
people.
like, I guess the way I could describe it with Ear Pro, it doesn't increase how far you can hear. It's just how loud you hear everything.
Exactly. So what I tell people now to do is, if you really want to hear what it sounds like in real life and you don't have ear pro, like proper ear pro for shooting range or whatnot, is put a microphone. If your headset has a microphone, put the headset on and then tell your computer to default to that, and then put on monitoring and then make a noise in the room and see what that sounds like,
Hmm.
so that you can hear, because that's actually what they're trying to mimic in game. So a lot
Right.
of the times where people might have a headset on and they might think something's broken, even though there is stuff that's broken about it, they might complain about something that's actually intended, is
Yeah,
another thing,
definitely.
because they're literally trying to mimic what that headset sounds like, and there's like
Yeah, they
difficulty
want it
levels
to
of
be
that
as
stuff.
authentic as possible. I mean, they're
Yeah,
just gunning gear nuts that are trying to simulate that in their game. And obviously with some exaggeration, like, the weapon overheating, for example, like, yeah, your fucking barrel's not going to get red hot after shooting 60 rounds. Like, that just doesn't happen.
yeah,
Or your suppressor that takes hundreds of rounds in real life. But if it was one-to-one IRL, like, we would never really see these things happen. And it doesn't make for an interesting game.
yeah. And then the other thing I had was the last thing here actually was, I heard him talk about BTRs, but as well as BMPs, which the
Hmm.
BMPs are the heavier, like a bit heavier armored. So I'm wondering if they're going to add that dynamic where you're going to need an actual like heat round in your RPG in order to take out a BMP, while probably a law rocket, potentially, or even like an HE round on your
Hmm.
RPG.
I imagine they'll do something where you can like take the tracks out too, or maybe
That
fuck the
too.
turret up so it can't rotate. So it may not be like a full like, oh, you've blown up the entire vehicle, but you've disabled it from moving, or you've disabled the turret from turning,
Yeah.
stuff like that. And then then the crew would probably have to like get out of the vehicle or something like that if that's going to be a thing.
Yeah. Or we're riding
Um,
on top with that trailer. The
yeah,
people are
yeah,
riding up on top, so that's gonna be nice.
yeah, definitely. That's gonna be really cool. Man, I can't wait to just like light all those fucking guys up on the top with an MG or something, dude. That's gonna be nuts.
This is the level of nerd that I'm at. Since I heard about streets, I've just at random times had random dreams where I'm just chilling in a window with a Scar H. Unfortunately, the Scar H isn't necessarily like a big thing right now, but I have a Scar H. I got a buddy with a saw next to me, and we're just looking down, wait for someone, seeing what's going on. Just looking down of a window with
That's
a Scar H,
crazy.
just chill. I no shit have had that multiple times.
Dude, I like the
I
Scar
can't
Edge.
wait.
Scar Edge fucks. It's a good gun.
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily run it a whole lot right now. It's let me down a couple times. Like I'm a big 5.4 guy, 5.45 guy right now, and I'm just starting
Yeah.
to get around with the SR25. The SR25 is a bit.
I might actually be getting one of those IRL. One of my sponsors hit
No
me up,
shit.
and yeah, you might be sending me one. The like
Yeah,
real Knights Armament one. It's a cool
yeah.
gun.
SR25 fucks right now. I just started rolling it with just even M80. It's
Yeah, just
actually pretty
308 right now feels really good. There's actually some issues going on with like 5.56 and 5.45 even with damage drop off. If after like 100 meters, it's like people are getting shot in the head and not dying and stuff,
Yeah.
and like their head is blacking out, but they're still alive somehow.
While we're actually, this wasn't necessarily because I know that we both know about this stuff, but while
Mhm.
since you said chat was into it or not too, with the custom armor hitbox and rig stuff, I
Mhm.
know that that's coming after Streets, but I wonder how, because we've seen so much work in progress with the different plates and pads and stuff like
Mhm.
that. I wonder how crazy they're going to get it, because the note that I have down here is it could end up being as complex as understanding ammunition and magazines to guns.
No, I would agree. I mean, it's going to get to the point where like all ammo is meta. Doesn't matter what you have. And like if you are in a situation where you're running into dudes with like hollow points a lot, you're going to want something with soft armor around the hard plate, not just a plate carrier. Something that protects your neck and like your collarbones and shit, especially. Or like if it's all going to be about how you position yourself and present yourself. So if somebody flanks you and hits you on the side, they're going to fuck you up. There's not going to be armor there to protect you. And it's definitely going to change the way the game is played a bunch. And just especially, and more than anything, it's going to even the playing field so much more. And you're going to have to respect everything. You can't just roll around with an alt and slick and be like, I'm fine. Anybody can hit me. You know what I mean? And you only have to worry about like shotgun dudes or somebody with good ammo. It's going to make the game just more dangerous in general, which I think will be pretty cool.
I had to imagine that they're going to take those base setups with the hexes and the anything with the level 6 stuff that we have right now, and then give you the option to add stuff to it.
Yeah, dude, like you'll be able to make P.A.K.A. level 6. You will literally be able to turn a P.A.K.A. into level 6
just put the
armor
plate
if you
in
want.
it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And same thing with slicks. You'll have a slick and you can put level 2 plates in there if you want, or 511. The only ones that won't be like that will be like more like the Russian armors for like Killa armor, the 6Bs and stuff like that. Those will just be like how they are now. Not every single rig will be highly customizable.
Yeah.
And not every armor will have swapped plates.
Because they're like sealed up, right? Aren't they like sewn
yeah,
up?
they're basically sewn in there, basically. So it kind of depends, but definitely like anything that's modern or has molly, like or molly straps and webbing, like those will all be highly modular. So like all of like the current tactical rigs that we have, all the TV10s, the Vortex, those will all be super customizable. And like I said, a lot of like the non-tac rigs, like the P.A.K.A.s, the slicks, the hex grids, those that are like plate carriers but without the molly webbing, you'll be able to swap plates and stuff like that on those. It'll have like minor bits of customization. And then I think they're also going to add tactical riggings too that like, you know, without armor, just like the webbings, that you'll also be able to customize as well.
Yeah. Anything with molly, last time they talked about anything with the molly, if it looks like it's molly adjacent to, because there's going to be like other, if it looks like you can put something on it, you're going to be able to put something on it.
Yeah, so like looking at like say Gazelle, like we'll probably be able to swap plates in and out of that. You know, the Untar no, the Karasa no, the Gen 4 probably. Forts. Yeah, Forts. Yeah, so like the Forts has a bunch of molly webbing. I don't have that over Ragman here. I think this multi-purpose rig, these are molly perhaps, I think. These Vortec rigs for sure. M1s.
They said backpacks too. I think they said they were doing something with backpacks.
That would be cool. Having like sub pouches on backpacks would be pretty rad.
Yeah.
That'll actually be fun to deck out a fucking one of these big boy armors with some molly.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be able to mess with that stuff too. Literally just because this is the only thing we haven't. We literally just went through everything that I know about that's planned.
Mm-hmm.
Revolvers, now that they have the revolver mechanism with the shotgun, we should.
Rhino, finally, bro. I blew my thumb off.
Exactly.
I blew my fucking thumb off, dude. It was rugged.
Dude, you scared the shit out of me when I saw that live. I was like, fuck, dude, what did he do? I got flashbacks to that AR that you had out of battery.
Blew up in my face. Yeah, that was scary. That was really scary. That out of battery detonation was nuts. I think it was honestly the gun and the ammo, honestly.
Yeah, people were. It was just like stick a thumb in it. Nope, it's just the hand. Just the hand.
Yeah, just the hand.
Yeah,
I handled it like a G though. I kept my gun down range.
Yeah, it's all good. Everything was all good. That AK was fucking cool. That clip that you put up on Instagram too.
Oh yeah, bro. That's Brandon's. That's Brandon's NPAP.
Yeah, I saw. Who's the? I don't know everyone that you put on that Instagram there, but the big guy with the blonde beard.
Oh, Caleb.
Yeah, Caleb.
Dude, Caleb's awesome, bro.
Yeah, and that looked like it had fucking no recoil.
Dude, it's that JMac muzzle brake. It's in Tarkov too. The JMac muzzle brake, fucking OP, dude.
Yeah, there was that, and what was it? Okay, yeah, revolvers coming in, but now with the new ballistics, something that this is literally the last thing that I have here on the list too is modified specific sniper rounds. Like you can mess with the gunpowder in it. You can mess. With,
hot loads and shit.
Yeah, and you can mess with also apparently they're gonna add 408 Shytac and like 300 Winchester and stuff like that. Like they're gonna go crazy with sniping, which because they had these ballistics changes, I feel like that could also be one of those things that they end up surprising us with. It's
Yeah,
just a
bro.
random, like,
I
they
just
they
want
hit
a
us with bigger
338
stuff.
bolt action. Just give me that,
Yeah.
please. I just will run 338 like a FMJ for everything.
Yeah. I was on the fence on whether they were going to surprise us with a 6.8 with the 6.8 Scar when they were
6.8,
adding
yeah,
the
Creed, the
scars.
6.8 Creed Mode Scar would be pretty cool.
But there's a bunch of shit like that. But yeah, that's literally everything that we just went through. Absolutely everything that I know for Tarkov that's planned and shit like that. So that's
Sick.
everything. So that should be cool. So yeah, I'll give you a proper shout out, and I'll grab some clips and stuff like that. But I'll post that probably, I don't know, Friday or whatever.
Yeah, cool. Works with me, man.
But thanks for hanging out, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime, bro. Let me know if you ever want to play some games.
All right, later, man.
Peace.